In this video, we will cover how to configure and set up business hours in Salesforce. Navigate to the top right corner, click on the gear icon, and select Setup. Enter the business hours in the Quick Find box, then select Business Hours. Click on New Business Hours. On the Business Hours Edit page, the fields highlighted in red are the required fields. Enter the business hours name. Salesforce recommends using a name that will remind users of a location or a time zone when they view business hours on a case entitlement process or milestone. Marked the active checkbox is true in order to activate the business hours, after which these can be assigned to cases' escalation rules, milestones, and entitlement processes. Note that if the business has deactivated, the end user won't be able to assign them to any automated processes. Mark Use the business hours as default checkbox is true to set the business hours as organization's default business hours. Choose a time zone to associate with the business hours in time zone drop-down list. Here time zone can be support team's local time zone. The next step is to set up your business hours for each day of the week. By default, 24 hours a box is selected for every day of the week. So if the support team is available during the entire day of the week, keep the default settings as is. If the support team is available for defined set of hours during the day, then deselect the 24-hour checkbox and enter the start and end time for the business hours. Leave the business hours start and end date as blank and 24-hour checkbox deselected if the support team is not available at all that day. System will automatically suspend all the escalation rules and automatic processes outside the business hours. Once the business hours are configured, click Save.